Stablecoins and asset tokenization are two of the hottest topics in the cryptocurrency space today. A growing number of companies are taking on the creation of both of these offerings. TrustToken may be the only company within the crypto space that is offering both. The company began offering TrueUSD, a USD-pegged stablecoin, earlier this year. Its asset tokenization platform is currently in the works. Recently, finance magnates spoke with TrustToken co-founder Tory Reiss about both of these offerings, the regulatory future of cryptocurrencies in the United States, and the future of asset tokenization. So, Tory, can you just start by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you got involved with TrustToken?
Sure. So my name is Tory Reiss. I am the Vice President of Corporate Development and Product Strategy here at TrustToken. My background, initially, it's kind of taken a winding route. I studied, neuroscience, but ended up in enterprise software, working at Microsoft for a number of years, and then made a move out to the Bay to get into startup life. The way I came across TrustToken was I had previously started a fintech company in the debt space, and after that business was really interested, I was exploring the future. What is the future of real estate, and what does distributed ledger technology contribute to existing? How does it change existing real estate models? Mm-hmm. And through that, I was looking at which companies are doing the most exciting things in the space, like building the fundamental platforms that businesses could be built on top of. And I'd identified a few, and one of those was TrustToken. And so I reached out to Danny, and these were during really early days, and we got together for coffee, and he gave me the whole spiel on TrustToken, and I was really impressed with what they were doing, and I started working with the team on more of a consultative basis, and then ended up joining full time after a few weeks of that, because it was just such an exciting period of time, and I was really impressed with what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you tell us now, what exactly is TrustToken and what are they doing?
Sure. So TrustToken is a really, on the simplest level, it's a platform that is essentially taking real world assets like real estate or gold or bonds, and essentially tying it to the blockchain. So it's a series of both legal protocols and basically technical protocols that make that possible. Mm-hmm. So, it's both a legal and technical problem. So it requires standards on both sides. And that's what we're building. We're trying to make that easy for everyone to bring real world assets and make them transactable on the blockchain.
Okay. So who can use TrustToken?
So right now, we're actually, the platform is not live. We're actually still in our pre-sale, which is taking place on CoinList over the next 2 weeks. But the plan is to launch the platform next year. And so then people will be able to utilize the platform at that point. So right now we have products that are live, that are built on the platform, but we haven't yet opened that to the general public.
Okay, so and TrustToken is also the company that has built TrueUSD, is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so the first product we launched was TrueUSD. We launched that in March, and it's been a whirlwind. The market has voted with their dollars, and it's just been growing at a much faster pace than we had even anticipated.
Yeah, so when TrueUSD was invented, or when it was created by you guys, was it kind of like a direct response to, a seeming need for like a more, I guess, trustworthy, for lack of a better word, pegged token, or like where did kind of the inspiration for this come?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It came from, we saw this vacuum, and it was a vacuum of trust, because we knew that there was a huge need, both economic and just, a consumer need for a currency-backed stablecoin. But Tether, was the only player in the market at the time, and they had largely lost traders and institutional trust, even the exchanges. And so we saw that as an opportunity. So that's why we started. We brought TrueUSD to market so quickly, and we built it in a completely different manner that really protects the token holders, both legally and financially, that in a way that we thought it just didn't exist on the market at the time.
Right, and the response since that point has been, as you said, kind of explosive. Or
it's gone from 0 to 80 million in less than 4 months, which is it's pretty bonkers. But we're really humbled by that.
And you started on Bittrex, correct?
Yeah, so Bittrex was our initial launch partner, and since then we've branched out to Binance and as well as Upbit, and we just did a launch with Huobi's U.S. partner HBUS, and we're listed on HitBTC. So really, the exchange adoption has also been pretty rapid.
Yeah, definitely.
Given the timeline.
So what is TrueUSD and TrustToken? Like, what are you doing to fight against kind of these I guess negative associations that people have with pegged currencies? How are you instituting AML and KYC requirements? What kind of auditing practices do you have?
Yeah, sure. So, two things that we think are just absolutely critical that we saw as an opportunity was, one, if we were, compliant from day one, we figured it would give our business like a very, very strategic defense, in the sense that it is a lot harder and more expensive to build a compliant business than a non-compliant business. And so we invested really heavily in, world-class AML infrastructure, and on the human capital side, our head of compliance, Charles, brings, 20 years of banking compliance experience, from First Republic and National Trust. And so we really invested heavily up front. And then the benefit of that is that, accounting firms are willing to work with us and perform attestations so that we can publish that publicly. And I think they'd be a lot less willing to work with us if we hadn't made all those upfront investments.
Right.
So that's been a big differentiator for sure.
And I know you said TrustToken as a platform isn't launching until next year, but can anyone who's on an exchange basically use TrueUSD or?
Correct. Yeah. So it not to be confused, TrueUSD is our stablecoin product that's live right now, and that's actually every individual, like every single TrueUSD is redeemable for the underlying US dollars, and they can be purchased directly using US dollars. Now, TrustToken is the underlying asset tokenization platform,
right?
And that's what that's what the pre-sale that's taking place on CoinList right now is for that underlying platform, to own a piece of that platform, essentially.
Right. Okay. So but as far as TrueUSD is concerned, like, as long as I've gone through the KYC and AML requirements to be on an exchange, then I can have access to the coin.
Yeah, that's right. Although it's also important. So the KYC and AML is most critical. We perform it at the gateway, so to speak. So when someone is onboarding or offboarding from fiat currency, but if you're just trading on an exchange, you'll undergo whatever KYC checks that they have built into the exchange. But it is, the responsibility doesn't fall to us until people actually choose to either redeem that for currency or make an initial purchase.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, because there are so few pegged currencies in the space, like, do you have kind of a working relationship or any kind of real contact with any of the other stablecoin companies, including Tether? Like, and if so, like, is it kind of like, more of a spirit of collaboration and industry improvement or competition?
Yeah, so Tether, we don't. However, the rest of the stablecoin ecosystem actually, it is very collaborative. So we have been working on a partnership with Maker to support TrueUSD as collateral for their DAI currency, and as well as we're very close with the Basis team, and they're working on an algorithmic stablecoin, and we all view it as we are building products for very different audiences. We also don't see it as zero sum. So it's very collaborative. I actually, I text with the Basis guys on a pretty regular basis, and we've been in many exchanges with the Maker team for quite some time. So yeah, I can tell you it's. I think the media tries to make it more like this is like this, competition and everyone's out for each other. But one thing I love about the crypto space is how collaborative it is.
Yeah, it really is. So you mentioned like these stablecoins kind of are targeting different audiences. If that's the case, then what would you say TrueUSD is kind of focused on?
Yeah, so we're honestly focused on institutional traders, essentially funds, and as well as businesses, because they have a need for dealing with the U.S. dollar, plain and simple. They either recognize revenue in the U.S. dollar, they need to transact or transmit money, or if they're hedge fund managers, they need a stable store of value for, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to their LPs, when it comes to holding those funds, that they do so in a safe way. And those are the initial audiences that we're going after. A lot of the, so I'd say those are the earliest audiences that we've seen and we've been interacting with. Lots of funds and as well as businesses that are building in the space.
Are there any like kind of unique technological features that TrueUSD has that makes it more suited to this purpose, or just generally like unique things about the technology behind TrueUSD? Or TrustToken?
Sure. I mean, the way you can think about it, I mean, it's just a dollar representation that's native, that's blockchain native, right? So it's an ERC20 token. It's it exists within the Ethereum ledger, so to speak, right? So the benefits of that from a technology standpoint is that if you are building a blockchain native application or a distributed application, you actually can integrate TrueUSD natively, and I think it also abstracts away the U.S. banking system, which is traditionally very difficult to work with, and allows you to work with another financial instrument that is programmable, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So is TrustToken or TrueUSD, like, have you guys I guess entered in any specific collaborations or with banks in particular, or is that something that's on the horizon?
Yeah, we have. We're currently working with three fiduciary partners, a mixture of banks and trust companies, and we're onboarding with another 8 or 9. We're at varying phases of the onboarding process, and so our plan is to. We want to offer our end users like the best possible user experience, and the way we can do that is by really safeguarding their funds and ensuring that there's no single points of failure. I think that was another lesson we learned from watching Tether was they really struggled with their banking relationships, their audit relationships, and there were many single points of failure. And so in building our business, like we were doing everything we can to ensure that that's not the case.
Nice. So can you tell me, like, are there any other things that, well, I'm sure there are, but what are the other things that are kind of on the short term, near term roadmap for TrustToken and for TrueUSD?
Yeah. So we're really focused this year, so 2018, on currencies and commodities. So you'll hear quite a few announcements from us in Q3 and Q4 regarding additional some new product launches in currencies and commodities. That's the immediate focus, that and really expanding our team. And then 2019, we're going to start turning our attention towards security tokens. And so that is something we're very excited for. I think something that I spend a lot of my time thinking about is what is the future of of capital markets and of fundraising. Like as an entrepreneur, like there's all these new options available if you're raising capital for your business anywhere in the world. There's all these new avenues to pursue, and so we want to do our best to serve all these different audiences and put really high quality financial products out in the world.
Mm-hmm. So then where do you see TrueUSD and TrustToken and maybe this whole notion of asset tokenization in like 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, if I want to put my daydreaming cap on, I would say the future looks something where underwriting is like the primary function that many investment banks serve today, like underwriting as well as marketing deals. I think there's a future where a lot of these intermediaries are removed and security offerings can really function direct to consumer, like direct to the end investor. And I think underwriting also is going to become a bit more distributed, where I think we're going to see the rise. Again, TrustToken, what we're building, for all intents and purposes, is a decentralized underwriting mechanism for registered securities offerings. And so I think there's going to be a future where, if you built, let's say you had a successful career in real estate, and you know how to evaluate a real estate deal really well, you could actually form with a few friends a syndicate to basically perform due diligence and underwrite real estate deals. And then a lot of other people who don't know a lot about real estate can essentially give you some of their funds so that you can essentially underwrite and put up collateral on their behalf. And I think in this way, like the crazy 10-year future looks like anyone in the world can purchase securities directly, get really high quality financial products with nothing more than a smartphone. They don't need a traditional bank account or brokerage. And then on top of that, I think, there will be this almost like these micro investment banks, right, that form around the world in every, South America, Europe, Asia, the United States. And I think it's a very much a democratization of these financial services. So that's the 10-year vision.
Very cool. So TrueUSD, had and TrustToken, like it seems pretty clear that you guys have done a lot of work to show that you're compliant. So how do you think that? But still the United States is not exactly, I would say, like set on where its regulations are going to be quite yet. There's still a lot of learning and changing that's going to happen. So
no question.
Yeah. So within the next, maybe let's say 1 to 2 years, kind of in a general sense, how do you see from your perspective in the industry regulations changing, and maybe also how do you think that will affect platforms like TrustToken?
Sure. So it's really hard to predict. And just, I want to make sure I understand the question. You're asking how changes in the regulatory environment could impact a business like ours?
Exactly. And kind of where you see the regulatory tide turning.
Sure. Yeah, I think, fortunately our business is fully, operating within the existing, regulatory regime.
Yeah.
I think that the Jobs Act really paved the way for a lot of these private securities offerings. And so, in my mind, like, I know what I hope for, and I hope for is kind of more clear guidelines from the SEC and the CFTC on how cryptocurrencies are viewed, and even more guidelines on these Reg D, Reg CF, Reg A plus type offerings. And I think honestly more clarity it can be better, and I think that they're putting in the time to better understand the space. And so at the end of the day, like a lot of these laws they're really only meant to protect the American investor. But what I hope more than anything is that they allow exposure to the average investor, not just accredited investors, because that's really the thing that will, open up the opportunity, so to speak, to the broader public. Right now, it's pretty restrictive to accredited investors only. And I know that was a protective measure, but I think it could. I think there could be a loosening of that would really help the general investor participate in the space.
Right. And then also I'm curious, now that these regulations are starting to have, or lack thereof are having kind of an effect on a restrictive effect on the market, as you said. How do you see within the next year, as who knows where the crypto markets are headed exactly? There's people are always saying, recovery is right around the corner, and it never, and it may or may not come. But I mean, do you see the platforms that you're working with having any kind of direct effect on the market capitalization of cryptocurrencies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's weird. I mean, I think the market movements have somewhat detached themselves from the sentiment of the news, which is actually a good thing. Mm-hmm. But lately there's really been nothing but positive announcements, and obviously that's done little to impact the quote unquote market cap of the space. Mm-hmm. But to be totally honest, I'm one of those people that's of the opinion that there's going to be a really quick, flippening is a really common crypto term, where I actually think the security token market is going to overtake the cryptocurrency market.
Okay.
And so that's my crazy prediction. If you want one, I still love cryptocurrencies, and I'm an investor myself. But I don't moonlight as a financial advisor or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
But here's what I know is that the sheer magnitude of capital that's going to flow into security tokens, I think is going to be massive, and I think it'll move pretty rapidly. So I mean, look, that's my opinion, and I think it'll happen faster than people think. Yeah. But we'll see. It's exciting times. That I know for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, Tory, thank you so much. This was such an interesting interview.